Okay, I see you answering 3 emails. Hey y'all, welcome to Meaux. And as you can see from this title, today I'm going to be talking about and sharing with you all what I learned during the year of 2020. Now, I know 2020 was a rough year for a lot of us, like most of us, girl. Like, I don't know. I don't really know anybody who didn't have a hard year. That's not true. I do know a couple of people who it was very successful for. It was also very successful for myself in a lot of other ways, just in the type of growth, interpersonal development, spiritual, mental development that I had over the course of the year. I wanted to come and share what I learned with you guys, because I know that everybody didn't learn the same thing, so I wanted to know what y'all learned, and I wanted to share what I got out of 2020 in retrospect. So here we go. Okay, so first off, the first lesson I learned was giving myself credit and appreciation. Now, I know for a lot of us, especially like Black folks, we do not take the time to show ourselves appreciation and gratitude and even credit for all that we do. I know that before March, so many of us were stuck in the rigmarole of working, the hustle, the grind, being back to back. I got to do this, I got to do that. I checked one box and I got to move on to the next thing. Without ever taking the time, it's like, okay, girl, you did a lot today. Congrats. You did really good here. You did great there. And also, I appreciate you doing these things for yourself. This started off with my grad school application. So early in the year, I applied to grad school for acting. While filling out the application, I had to go through the process of all the work that I've ever done and everything that I've done during my 3 years in Boston. All the shows I had accomplished, anything I'd ever directed, produced, taught, all the companies I worked at. And looking back, I was like, damn, girl, you did a lot. There was a lot that I did, and I accomplished a lot, and I had a lot to be proud of. And I don't give myself that credit usually. And looking at all the work that I did, everything that I felt good about, and how I stayed true to all my values as an artist, it felt really good, and it buoyed me, and it helped make my auditions and my time during grad school auditions better. Blessed be that I got a call back to Yale, and not just one, but 2 callbacks to Yale. I got multiple callbacks to NYU, and also multiple callbacks to Brown, which is some of the top schools. I did not get a callback to UCSD, but yeah, as you can see, I applied to some of the best schools, and I just feel going through the process of seeing everything that I do, showing myself appreciation for it, giving myself credit, and walking with the knowledge that, I'm that bitch. I did that. It was really good. It was really good for me. And then I further to reinforce this lesson, it also became important after the time of March. So, I know many of us, we had depressive episodes multiple times a year, girl. And something that I came to appreciate was that I had to give myself credit for everything that I did. I know there were so many days where I didn't want to get out the bed and do anything, but on the days that I gave myself credit, even if it was just brushing my teeth, washing my face, and making myself breakfast. So it's Maurice, you did a good job. That was a really tasty breakfast you made. Giving myself those reinforcements and showing myself that appreciation really buoyed my spirit, and it made me want to do more. It made me want to accomplish more that day. And now I'm so thankful to have a relationship where I go through the day, giving myself credit for pretty much everything that I do. As soon as I accomplish something, yes, girl, you did that. Yes, girl, brushing your teeth. Yes, girl, taking a shower. Yes, girl, cooking. And these are all really small things. Yes, you better check the mail. You read 10 pages. Yes, 10 pages. Okay, I see you answering 3 emails. And these are small things, but getting into the habit of appreciating myself and just showing myself love for everything that I do, it really just it really makes all of my days that much better. Okay, so the next one is the importance of downtime, and also reflection, to just cause I know downtime was important, and I kind of pride myself on scheduling in me time and downtime and self-care time. But and I was kind of good at that, but not all the way good. And I kind of reinforced how good I was at that. But another level to that was reflection, which is something I wasn't doing before. Because I was already good at, like, okay, girl, on Sundays, I'm not doing anything. I'm smoking a bowl, I'm watching Netflix, I'm chit-chatting with my girls, drinking wine, and taking a bubble bath. And like, that would be all I did on Sunday, and it felt good. That was kind of like my recharge for the upcoming week. But like when I discovered that I also needed to have reflection and like introspection, that was when like my downtime and my self-care time became even much more valuable. But yeah, like being stuck at home with our thoughts and our traumas isn't necessarily like a luxury item. But in the instance that it was, I was really able to just like reflect on everything, like big and small. Like I could reflect on how that week had gone, like what went well, what didn't go well. I know so many of us were easily working like 60-hour weeks, 50, 60-hour work weeks, you know what I mean? And when you're working like that, you don't really have time to do all that reflection that you can. I mean, you can if you schedule it in, but that wasn't something that I was doing. And that was something I found out how to do in 2020. Like being stuck in the house with myself, girl, with all my traumas, my thoughts, and all the things that haunted me, I really had to sit and look at the way that I was living my life. You know what I mean? I didn't realize how different things could be until I started reflecting. Because, I was working 50, 60-hour work weeks, but I was loving everything I was doing. I was waking up at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, going off to teach, then going to like a second job as a marketing associate, then went to another job as a box office manager, and then I would end up going to rehearsal. And, that was like 6 days a week, almost every week, and sometimes 7 days a week. You know what I mean? And like I told myself that I loved it because I loved my coworkers, and a lot of the time I did love what I was doing, but I didn't realize that there was a different way to do things. You know what I mean? I wasn't happy. I don't know. It's hard to explain because like part of me was happy while I was at work, but I was exhausted. And the way I was living just wasn't sustainable. And it took being stuck in the house with myself and with my thoughts to realize that. And the way that I was engaging in self-care wasn't like pushing me towards growth. It was self-care in the way that I was doing things that I felt like when they were energizing me, you know what I mean? But they weren't making me better, you know what I mean? And that's what we really want in life, or at least that's what I want. I don't only want to like sustain myself and have self-care habits, but I want to be able to look at my life and say that I got better every step of the way. Yeah, and a lot of my self-care practices were external. I got to go do this thing. I'm going to go talk with these people. I'm going to consume this. But none of it was really like internal and reflective. So once I started like realizing, okay, it was in my mind, you know what I mean? This is how my week was, and this is how my life has been going, and this is where I want it to go. Once I started having those internal, reflective, introspective, being in tune with my spirit and my intuition and pulling that outward, you know what I mean? Being in tune with what's going on in the inside, that was a different thing that I learned. And that was really paramount for me. And it also wasn't just like what was going on that week either. I also had the time to look at like traumas, you know what I mean? Like dead ass deep rooted traumas that I thought that I had dealt with, that I thought that I wasn't like suffering from anymore. But no, girl, they were still there, getting on my nerves. They were still there bugging your girl. Girl, I'm so sick and tired of hearing about this inner child. Okay, this like inner child that needs to be taken up. Apparently I'm a parent now, but I digress. Yeah, I was able to look at things that were a part of my subconscious, that had been a part of the way I was operating in the world for years. And the amount of growth that came from this like introspective, reflective, looking at the way that like my past was going, whether it be the week or the year, and then evaluating it. Okay, what's working, what's not working? And then being able to construct something new or try something new from that process. That's just some growth I'm super, super thankful for. The next thing that I learned and took away from the year of 2020 was really like evaluating the way I was engaging with social media and looking at and being intentional about the content that I was consuming. Like I feel like a lot of us do. We spend tons and tons of time like scrolling through social media, whether it be like Facebook. I'm not on Facebook. Instagram or Twitter. No shade to anybody who uses Facebook or any other website really. It's just that Facebook is so overwhelming. There's just so much. I'm sorry, I'm digressing again. But yeah, the point is that like we're consuming content and media all day long, girl. If you have like screen time, girl, checking out my screen time from 2020, terrifying, honestly. And it took being stuck in the house with all the content I was consuming. And I'm not even gonna lie, like before the pandemic hit, I probably wasn't on social media all that often. You know what I mean? I probably was wasting a lot of time on it during my self-care days. But like during the week, like I really wasn't on social media like that. I really didn't have the time. But once I got like stuck on it, you know what I mean? I'm in the house with nothing else to do. I was on there all the time, girl. But again, it was like it took being stuck in a house to really like evaluate how this stuff was like wearing on my mental health, and not only wearing on my mental health, but also working on my subconscious, which is something that I don't feel like we think about all the time. Like if you're watching, like when I was watching murder mysteries all the time, girl, I was paranoid and scared quite often. You know what I mean? When I was watching trash reality TV show, you know, I was a little combative. Okay, watching too much of the news, I was irritated all day long. You know, but if I was watching comedy all day long, everything was a joke. Like our brains are like sponges, and we take in everything that we see and consume, and our brains kind of like push them back out, whether that be in our bodies, in our intentions, in the way we move, in our social interactions, or in the beliefs that we have about ourselves. And I'm not saying that I'm gonna stop watching The Real Housewives of Atlanta or How to Get Away with Murder, but I did decide to watch what I was consuming and to be a little more intentional about it, you know? Like we see so much content that's like fed to us and like shoved in our faces all day long. And so much of the content is made to excite us, you know, like glitz, glamour, ooh, wow, to get us to purchase something, or something to like excite us, like the shock factor, like the wow. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe they did that. To excite us so that like we come back to it. You know what I mean? We love trash television. I love it. It's like, it's a really good time. But I say that like a lot of the content that's like thrown at us and like pushed aggressively in our faces 24 hours a day is not here to encourage us to be our best selves. And I don't think there's enough of that at all. I decided to curate my social media feeds. You know what I mean? I started following more posts and people that were talking about things like healthy relationships, like healthy communication styles, like mental health awareness, and like just taking care of like your bodies and your spirits. I don't think we get enough of that at all, which is part of the reason why I created this channel. I'm great at self-care, girl. There's an abundance of love inside of me, and I give it to myself all the time. People tell me all the time that I have such a great spirit, and people feel like healed when I speak, or their spirits feel lifted when I'm in the room. So yeah, and I was like, the best way for me to like do this, I want to share it with as many people as possible. I really do feel like it is my gift and my calling to share my spirit and my energy with the world. So yeah, that's why I created this channel, and that's also something that I learned. Like I needed to be specific about the content that I was consuming, and I need to watch it. This is like probably one of my favorite ones, but the fourth thing that I learned was that there are things bigger than us. Like nobody could have predicted that the pandemic was going to happen. Well, maybe not predicting, because President Obama did have a plan in place that was actually taken down by President Trump, but we're not going there. What I'm saying is like nobody could have known that COVID-19 was coming, when it was going to come, and how it was going to happen. You know what I mean? We could have been prepared to do our best, but there's kind of like nothing that you can do. You know what I mean? Like everybody in the world had to adjust their living styles because of this virus. We had to be flexible. Everybody had plans that were like canceled or adjusted or couldn't happen because of the pandemic. Like my living arrangements alone, or at least the plans for them, changed at least 3 different times. 3 different times. Girl, I was gonna move to New York. I was gonna go to grad school. Then I was gonna move to New York. Then I was gonna go to Atlanta. Then I was gonna go to LA. And But things kept coming up, things kept switching, and there was like, it was out of our control, and we were really at the mercy of the universe and the cosmos and divine timing and everything. It was out of our hands. It was bigger than us. You know what I mean? It was bigger than us, and there was nothing that we can do about it. Miss Kovisha came through, and she said, and she put her red bottoms on our throats, and she hasn't let up yet. At least not in the United States, girl. And she threw a wrench into the mechanisms of capitalism, which I was kind of surprised to see. You know, I didn't think that could happen. But there are things like bigger than us. There's so much history in just how like viruses work. You know what I mean? And like the longevity of Earth. You know, and none of us could have like expected. None of us could have prepared. None of us could have prepared for the way that 2020 went. Shifts and changes kept coming all year long. All year long. And there was truly something bigger than us behind all that energy and all those shifts and changes. And everything and all the tragedy that happened was a part of a collective shift in the ways that we operate and our energies and the way that people treat each other. Or at least what I feel like that was the lesson was. I really do feel like the individualism of the United States is probably the most toxic trait, and it's keeping us from transcending and becoming better people. But a lot of us like learned the lesson that needed to be learned from COVID-19. And it's also like not over. There's still like a lot of change to come. There's still shifts that are going to need to be made and created in response to the way that 2020 went down. And I think what I've learned the most from this is to be flexible. You know what I mean? Life can change in an instant. Life can change in an instant. And so as much as you can plan and organize and say you're going to do X, Y, and Z, sometimes life just comes in and it's like, bitch, that's not what you're doing. You thought, but it's just not realistic. And also to like spend time with the people I love and to value them and to tell people that you love them and to like and appreciate them, because they could be gone like that. The last one, and probably the biggest, another big one for me, and it's taking agency. I also learned about like taking agency over my life. Now, my Mars is in Aries, and for those of you who don't study astrology, all that means is that I'm already a leader girl. I already like move through life with a whole bunch of ambition and direction and purpose, and I'm a leader. I'm born to be a leader, quite literally. But I think the lesson that was in 2020 for me about that was that I could also be a leader in the things that I felt the most hopeless about. The moment of transformation for me was that when I realized that like I don't have to wait for my blessings to come. Okay, like I am a co-creator in everything that happens. And again, like this isn't to like disregard anything I just said in the last room, that there are energies and things bigger than us that we have no control over that are going to direct and instruct what happens in our lives. But still at the same time, every day I'm a co-creator. And if I can't be in control of everything that I can do, I can plant seeds and have some agency about the way that I move and the things that I want to create in my life. Part of this is like, I hate being exploited. Like, I know I need a job. I know I got to do labor. Like nobody gets away from like life without like having some form of labor. But I'm just not down with having my work exploited, which is another reason why I decided to start this channel. This is me investing in myself and me building a brand and a business so that I can be in control of all the money that I'm making. You know what I mean? All the energy that I'm putting into this is eventually going to come back to me. That's what I want. And that's what I wanted to build. Another way I started taking agency was like, the healthcare system in the United States is trash. It's trash. It's ghetto. It's the worst. And I would just be like in despair and upset about like this for a good part of my life. But a very like near and dear friend of mine, like decided to be a sponsor. Shout out to you, girl. You know who you are. Decided to be a sponsor for a decolonizing wellness class I took, and I learned so much information about holistic medicines and just like ways to take care of myself that aren't about relying on the medical system or pharmaceuticals or the trash ash like healthcare system in the United States. And that's not to like disregard like our frontline workers and all the people who do work in the medical industry, but like access to healthcare is hard. So like having a supplemental form of healthcare and information and knowledge that I can use to equip myself with like medicines and herbs to help take care of my body and my spirit and my mind, that's valuable, you know what I mean? And it took like developing agency, you know what I mean, to want to do that. I took my financial stability and my health into my own hands. You know what I mean? And I'm not perfect, and I'm not saying that they're all in my own hands right now. But again, I made the decision to invest in it so that one day I eventually will be able to say, like, I have a firm hold on my mental health. I have a firm hold on my bodily health. You know what I mean? I have a firm hold on my spiritual health. I have a firm hold on my financial stability, and it's not being given to anybody else. Because another thing that was a disappointment was the way our government handled the COVID-19 like pandemic and the relief that they provided us with. It was terrible. It was terrible. It was quite awful. My employers weren't really able to help me the way that I needed help, and the government wasn't really able to help me the way that I needed help. But I started this so that sometime down the line, I'm not gonna need to rely on anybody else. The next pandemic that comes along, girl, I'm good. Okay, girl, I got this. Keep it. That is so disrespectful to me, to give the citizens $1,800 over the course of a year. Not even a year, because we didn't even get that $600 until 2021. So we got $1,200 last year and then $600 a year later. It's ghetto. Let me stop. Girl. Takeaway for this is like finding agency in my life, finding the things that I feel the most disempowered in, or the things I feel most hopeless in, and taking some agency about empowering myself about those things. It was an amazing lesson I learned. So in all, like, I can say as much as like 2020 fucking sucked and I hated being in the house, I didn't dance as much as I want to, you know what I mean? I certainly didn't perform as much as I want to. There were a lot of things that I had plans on doing that didn't occur. I was gonna go to Italy, girl, all types of shit. But I can say, if nothing else, it was a transformative year. And it transformed me light years ahead of where I would have been if the pandemic didn't hit the way that it did. Like all the knowledge that I have now, I easily realize I probably would have had to wait another 5 years to develop and understand and to garner all the knowledge that I got last year. So yeah, I shaded that. So yeah, so these are the lessons I learned. Hopefully they helped you. Let me know if anything resonated with you or if you found anything that I stated useful. Also, let me know if there's anything that you learned over the course of last year that you want to share with me. You know, if there's anything I missed out on that you found to be like enlightening or an epiphany of sorts. Put it all down in the comments. Thank you for watching. And until next time, this is XOMO. Bye. I think light creates more shadow and more darkness creates more opportunity for light. And if there's anything I know how to do, it's to find a silver lining in a cloud. And that's what it was. I think that the year of 2020 is like terrible and traumatic, and as much tragedy as there were over the course of the year, there was a lot to learn. I learned a lot, and that's what I'm very, very thankful for.